Heavy hitters introduce a new weapon in the form of Luminaris Angel's Glow, which allows Prism to gain Go Again on her heralds at a cheaper rate, albeit with the deck building cost of incorporating yellows. Prism's worst matchup has always been aggressive decks that don't allow you to develop auras. 2 heralds in one turn or Wartune Herald and another 1-cost Illusionist attack allows us to effectively race aggro decks that don't have sufficient poppers to disrupt us. I wanted my deck to be able to effectively race aggro, so I included all of the 1-cost Illusionist attacks to couple with my Wartune Heralds, those being Miraging Metamorph and Phantasmal Symbiosis. Herald of Triumph had to be a 9 of, the ability to attack and be positive that you gain Go Again, either by not being popped or the Go Again from Luminaris, to then play an Aura or swing with an Angel or another Herald was way too important. I then wanted to round out the deck with some mandatory defense reactions in Sink Below and Soul Shield, and then Yellow Heralds. After Protection and Eruditions, the options get pretty bad for Heralds. I chose to play the 6 attack Heralds over Herald of Tenacity because if an aggro opponent wants to block 2 cards to deny my Herald, that's fine by me. Herald of Judgment can have random upside against decks like Vinset or Katsu as well. I wanted more yellows in the deck for Luminaris, but didn't want to play more bad yellow Heralds. Enter Yellow Sink Below. Having 6 copies of this card is insane in this deck as it helps you fix the awkward hands that can exist by basing your resource curve on yellows. It lets you filter your figments back into your deck or cycle your 0 or 2 block auras to keep blocking against aggro. It allows an easy card to put in arsenal and then remove to give space for Wartune Herald. It also helps against dominate or overpower heroes. The card is really good and it's infinitely better than That All You Got, which I see a lot of Prisms playing. Try it out and don't dismiss it just because it's yellow D-React. The main challenge came with decks that can consistently block with poppers, in particular Guardians that have plenty of cards with over 6 power that can't be negated by Prism's Triumph effects. Typically Prism would have a stellar matchup into Guardian due to the power of auras and the inability for Guardians to clear them. Unfortunately, to attack with auras we need to switch weapons to Iris of Reality. Reality Refractor's lack of Go Again makes it hard to close out games once we actually develop our auras. Iris of Reality costing 3 resources to attack with auras is the direct opposite of what our Luminaris deck wants to do, which is pitch yellows. It was difficult to have a deck that A could have enough auras in it, and B actually attack with those auras. To allow for these problems, I added the blue Everfest auras to my main Luminaris deck, because it does still need blues, and then I didn't have to use additional deck slots for pivoting to Iris. The yellow auras I chose to play when I pivot to Iris are Genesis and Merciful Retribution. Genesis was clearly the strongest of all the options that allows us to add to our soul and grow a wider board. Even if the opponent kills the Genesis on the spot, it effectively skips their turn, and it should have left a Spectral Shield behind that we can attack with to punish their off turn. Merciful can steal games for us and also provides cards in soul for our angel attacks. Parable of Humility seems appealing against decks that go wide with attack actions, but I didn't want to play any 0 block auras in those matchups anyway, so it didn't make the cut. The rest of the deck is rounded out with some poppers for Illusionist Mirrors, 1 piece of Null Rune because we have enough ward for Kano already, and Findle Spring Tunic for when we pivot to Iris. Okay, next we'll go over some matchups and some tips with the deck. Check out the deck list on Fabruary for my configuration in each matchup. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Dromai is your worst matchup by far, as we don't have any small attacks to deal with the dragons, and they also have poppers. Just go for the kill with your heralds and pray. If you want to tech for this matchup, you can add Celestial Cataclysm for more poppers, or Scar for a Scar to kill dragons at a cheap rate with Go Again. The next hard matchup is Leviathan. Even though they have a lot of poppers, I have found that Leviathan doesn't give you enough time to develop auras. They can just Blood Rush and Art of War back to back and keep pressuring you. This led to me trying Luminaris against them, and I was actually pleasantly surprised with the matchup. Demanding a card from their hand for Phantasm every turn actually reduces their damage a fair bit, and Passing Mirage and Herald of Triumph do a lot of work in the matchup. I have had a lot of success against Brutes by playing for a second cycle, seeming as though the Luminaris build has a lot of 3 blocks and defense reactions. At second cycle their popper count is greatly discounted, especially against KO who doesn't actually run blue Wrecker ROMs. In the Brute matchups, there often comes a turn where they are forced to roll Scabbies due to no action points to properly pressure you, or they have an important aura to clear. You're almost guaranteed to get to this point if you play defensively, and it's essentially a coin flip to actually win the game. We take those. Anyways, try out both plans and let me know how you guys feel against Brute. Rhinar is similar to the other Brutes, although he is even more starved on action points, which leads me to want to play auras against him. Additionally, Rhinars have had a lot more 7+ attacks that get around Herald of Triumph, so I recommend Iris against Rhinar. Like I said earlier in the video, aggro decks have always been a struggle, so ninjas will still provide a tough matchup for us, but just play efficiently with your heralds and defense package and you can easily get there. In the same way, Boltyn feels a lot harder than the other warriors due to cards like Bolting Blade and Celestial Cataclysm that ignore our Herald of Triumphs. He also has a very fast fast clock that can eliminate the Iris Plant. All the other matchups seem quite favoured, except I haven't run into either version of Dash yet. I would run Luminaris against them and play around Herald of Triumph, but you could also look towards Fatigue against Dash IO, or if Dash IE starts with Induction Chamber. Now for some tips with the deck. When attacking with a Herald and the opponent blocks with a 6 attack popper, you can use Halo of Illumination to get Figment of Triumph that will shrink your opponent's blocking card and allow your Herald to hit. Soul cards are important in this deck, as we'll often look for a pivot turn using Figment of Erudition where we flip it and attack with it with Go Again due to Luminaris, and then we draw 2 cards to also send a Herald. This is potentially 11 damage and 4 prevented due to Ward 4. The same thing often happens with the Protection Figment against Guardians, as the Spectral Shields make it easier to defend the Angel, and if they attack the Angel directly you have 2 Spectral Shields to attack with Iris. We also play Tunic in these matchups so we can make these plays off of a single blue. If you have no auras against a Guardian and full tempo because they just cleared an aura, you can Halo for Herald of Protection, which provides a Spectral Shield and an Angel to attack with. Halo can get Figment of Ravages against Dromai and ping one of her dragons in combat so they lose Go Again. The flip side can also kill 2 dragons with 1 attack by banishing from Soul. Using Phantasmal Footsteps to block and Floating 2 can allow you to flip an Angel on the end of your opponent's turn and attack with it on your own turn. Doing this with Figment of Erudition can allow you to block heavily and attack back, drawing 2 cards to also send a Herald. Thanks for watching guys, let us know how you go with the deck and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.